tomorrow will be a better day.
Now you can.
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 Secure their future. The NSSF Amendment Act now requires all formally registered employers to make monthly NSSF contributions for their staff regardless of the number of staff they employ. NSSF, a better life.
Capacity.
What?
Tauni.
Skip the hassle. Submit your benefits claims on the NSSF Go app or web whenever, wherever. Download the NSSF Go app to get started.
Woo! NSSF Go. Ooh, wow!
NSSF.
It's time to break new ground. To get up and be counted. To take your seat at the table. To make your mark. Now is the time. To boss up, hustle up, level up. Take your business to the next level. Sign up for the online NSSF High Innovator Business Academy. Visit www.highinnovatorbusinessacademy.nssf.org to upskill yourself and stand a chance to win up to 30,000 USD in seed funding. The High Innovator program is an initiative of NSSF in partnership with MasterCard Foundation, implemented by Outbox.
NSSF, a better life.
The more your money works for you, the less you have to work for money. Most of us don't know what this means. We often find ourselves burdened with questions like, how can I save? Where should I invest my money? How can I budget to meet my needs with the money I earn? What can I do about my recurring debt? Benjamin Franklin once said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. And with the NSSF Financial Wellness Program, you get the best financial literacy to get you on the path to financial freedom. Become better at income diversification, debt management, saving, investment, and much more. Apply for the free NSSF Financial Wellness Program. Visit www.nssfug.org/financial literacy or dial *254# or call 0800-286-773 toll free for details.
NSSF, a better life.
It's time to break new ground. To get up and be counted. To take your seat at the table. To make your mark. Now is the time. To boss up, hustle up, level up. Take your business to the next level. Sign up for the online NSSF High Innovator Business Academy. Visit www.highinnovatorbusinessacademy.nssf.org to upskill yourself and stand a chance to win up to 30,000 USD in seed funding. The High Innovator program is an initiative of NSSF in partnership with MasterCard Foundation, implemented by Outbox.
NSSF, a better life.
Hey, yes, I'm go.
Uganda.
Wax house.
Wax house go in now.
This that brew house, that one in Kampala. Oh, go.
Workers house.
That one. How's the match?
8,000.
What?
8,000.
8,000. There.
Yes.
Get out.
Skip the hassle. Submit your benefits claims on the NSSF Go app or web whenever, wherever. Download the NSSF Go app to get started.
Woo! NSSF Go. Ooh, wow!
NSSF, a better life.
Everyone wakes up to a day of hard work. To get hold of that new opportunity in order to live a better life. And everyone deserves a chance to change their circumstances and rewrite their story. Be inspired by the future, imagine it and live it. To shape the future and be able to withstand life's surprises. To ensure that tomorrow will be a better day.
Now you can.
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 Secure their future. The NSSF Amendment Act now requires all formally registered employers to make monthly NSSF contributions for their staff regardless of the number of staff they employ.
Very good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for logging in for the NSSF Financial Literacy Program. This is the hour. These are the next 2 hours when we comprise ourselves into a class. We are going into the School of Money and we're going to be talking about money for the next 2 hours. It is the time when we take off time from our busy schedules and we say, let's talk about personal finances. We all went to school, learned so many things, Gipiri and Labongo, but we never got a chance to talk about money. We are at the workplace taking care of the employer's money, but we never talk about our own money. So as NSSF, through the financial literacy program, we come to you and say, let's talk about money. And for the next 2 hours, I will be the headmaster of this School of Money. And as I always remind you, when you're addressing the headmaster of a whole school of money, you put a sir before the name and a sir after the name. So appropriately, headmaster sir will be taking you through the next 2 hours. We are going to be discussing about networks. Ladies and gentlemen, networks. What are your networks? How are you leveraging your networks? Before we talk about leveraging, because leveraging may be so foreign to you if you actually have no network. What is a network that we consider productive? Are you just in a network for being, or it is just being convenient, or you are there involuntary? What are all those things? And we are going to explore that. That is not my job to do. We have specialists who are going to be talking about that. In the field of money, we are never experts. We only have experience, because every day is a learning phase. You can be an expert in one aspect, but not all of them. So the persons that will be talking to you will be sharing their experience. You don't have to like it. You don't have to follow it, but it is their experience. Money is personal. Money is unique. Whatever works for me may not work for you, but it takes a difference if you know what has worked and then you act appropriately. Allow me to just make a small introduction about why we do this. If the back office is kind enough, as they are doing this, allow me to extend our sincere thanks to Family TV, who have dedicated airtime towards this. The airtime they have dedicated is not on the server's money. It is purely their money. They have sponsored this airtime to a tune of 80 million. Allow me to thank Britam, who have also decided to put more money into this program so that we'll use less of your money. So these programs are running with those two persons pouring in money, particularly for this one. So why do we do this? And I always want to remind ourselves, you will get tired of that pencil, but until the objectives are attained, we will continue talking about them. We want to reverse that statistic that people get their money. We have sung that song for the last 4 years. People get their money and people lose their money. That needs to stop. This program runs so that we reverse that statistic. 85% of our beneficiaries get their money, and then after 2 years they cannot account for that money. We need to have a stop to that. We want to build a financially empowered membership. You, our members, you are empowered if you have options, which is our third objective. You are empowered if NSSF is not your only option. If you lost a job today, your first stop won't to be at NSSF. You will have options or that will bring you money. So we want to have those three things done. Reverse the statistic, build a financially empowered membership, and have a member and a national citizen that has options through their life cycle of life. So networks. Allow me to just say something about networks before we go into our poll questions and the main discussion. Excuse me. NSSF is a huge network of 2.2 million members. So any of you out there who is a member of NSSF, you are part of a huge network of 2.2 million. Excuse me. You are probably listening to this because you are part of this network. And we are, as NSSF, we are trying to be of purpose to you, our network. Of you in our network, only 1.6 million of you have a balance with us. So you now start getting what your status is in this network. You are either a member without balance or a member with balance. We are served, this network is served by 17 touch points, 23 outreach centers, over 500 staff, and we are about 12% of the GDP. Now, every time you're talking about your network, you need to be talking about in terms of what are your metrics in that particular network. What do you, of the things your network has accomplished, what's your contribution? I'll leave that for the NSSF, but I want to just to tell you something here as before we continue. You have no business discussing business if you are discussing network business if you are not part of the business. So here we are a network of NSSF members and financially empowered persons, but we have no business discussing NSSF business if you are not NSSF members. And I want to give you a chance. This is like an altar call. If you are not an NSSF member, please dial *254# and register. It is free. It is convenient. All you need is a national ID, and then we can continue this conversation. Do not be in this conversation as a spy. Be part of this conversation. For each network you are in, don't be in there as a spy, as if they have just sent you for information. Be in there as an active member. As we get into that, of course, it's not my place. We have the persons who are going to talk about networks. But my only point, if I'm to talk about networks, if you are in a network, you need to be a productive member of that network. So dial *254# and register. You can register as a voluntary member if you don't have employment. As long as you are 16 and you have a national ID, we have you covered. Be part of that network. Excuse me again. Allow me to continue. So again, I will emphasize this. You have no business discussing network business if you are not part of that network. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have been converted. I can't have a way of checking, but I hope you are converted and you are not in this collaboration as a spy. Leveraging your networks. Let's know who our persons are. If you are to leverage on your network, and these are just my parting shots before I hand over to our panel here. If you are to leverage on your network, you need to be present. It needs your presence, not your pretense. Most of you are part of the network, but just pretending to be part of that network. You need to be present. You can't be there and not be there. You have to be present. If you are to leverage on your network, you have to be of purpose, not position. Some of you are part of networks because of your age, because of your residence. The village is making a village network, and because you are part of the residence, you are enrolled. But your purpose in that is minimal. So be of purpose. Whatever network you have been enrolled or you are part of, you need to be a person of purpose. That's when you can start talking about leveraging the networks. You have to be a person of potential, not promises. A number of us have promises. I will do this, but let's talk about the potential. What can you actually do? Be a person of potential. You need to bring progress in that network, not problems. Quite a number of you, to that network, you are the problem. You go into this circle, you collapse it. You go into another circle, it collapses. Another circle collapses. And then you say, people are not good people. But it is 3 circles that have collapsed after you have entered. You are the problem. Be a person who brings progress. Don't be a person who is of problems. You need to be a participating member, not a passive one. Participating both physically, spiritually, and financially. For me, I like talking about money. If you are not of financial use to some places, you are not even in a church, there's a requirement of your financial involvement. The church takes you as you are, but they also require you to support. So be participating, don't be passive. Rethink your network. Rethink a network if you are if you are the boss in that network. If you are the smartest in that network, rethink it. If you are the wealthiest in that network, if you are the most feared in that network, probably you have outgrown your purpose in that network. You need to be in a network which you can serve and also serves you. If you have outlived it, if you have outgrown it, then you need to rethink. If you are the one in a lack, in that network, you are always the one telling people, collect some money for us who don't have. If you are the one always that have to collect for, rethink. You also need to be in a network where you are giving, not being given. Ladies and gentlemen, Networks are about results. They are not about reasons. You need to have results. If you're in a network, it needs to give you results, not just reasons. You need to leveraging on network means that you have results and not reasons. And as I finish, allow me to just share this. I just picked off, and this is public information. If it is, I just picked it off the public forum. We are dying of poverty. 40 former RDCs petition Museveni. These are RDCs. They had a network. They represented the president. If your network goes, if you have been delegated from a higher network, and then you are forming yourself into a network that is for begging, that is not a good place to be. Start rethinking. When I leave the network, sometimes most of us here are in a network of the workplace. I am at NSSF, Mboa, NSSF. When I move around, I mean, all I have to say, NSSF, I walked through some high commission, going in and where are you coming from? NSSF. I didn't even tell them my name. But when I stop being at NSSF, which network am I going to land into? Start thinking about which network. I hope I won't land into the former NSSF staff asking for begging. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not a good place when you start begging, when you are in a network of privilege at a certain point. If you don't save money, if you do not save money, money will never save you. When we fall from the networks, whichever networks we are fallen from, and we are falling into lower networks, and then we are asking for money to save us, yet we never saved when we are in the networks that were networks of privilege, that money won't save us. So if there is anything we need to do today is to remember that if you don't save money, money won't save you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming for the NSSF Financial Literacy Program. I want to share one last slide, and I know Shadrach back office there has moved my slides, but if he's a kind gentleman, he will give you this slide because it is our tagline. Our tagline. That next slide, please. At NSSF, we believe, the next slide, that action changes things. If I've talked about anything and you feel like you are in a place which is undesirable, all you need to go to the place that you desire is just have some action. Because when you act, things change. How would it be, how nice would it be when we can talk about these discussions and you are part of the beneficiary, you are part of the person who actually contributed to this, you actually a recipient and a beneficiary, not just someone who stood on the sidelines, because you're a person of action. Action changes things. Allow me to go to the discussion of the day. And today we have a discussion about, as my role is always to introduce, and then I will leave the persons with experience to share. But before we get to that, I will ask the back office to let us know who we are, what we are. Kindly share with us that poll question. Who are you? Are you male? Are you female? What's your age bracket? We need that information to help our panelists understand who we are dealing with so that they can actually be of purpose to you. What's your gender? Are you male or female? What's your age group? Are you 40, below 40 or above 40? Do you belong to any network? Yes or no? How do you grade your network? Is it productive, non-productive, or just for being? Ladies and gentlemen, let us take 30 seconds answering this. Do you belong to any network? Yes or no? Productive or not productive? Or just for being? Let's use the next 10 seconds and then we will stop the poll and see what our results look like in order for our panelists to know how we are going to go by this. If Jackie, you can stop that. If you can stop this and then we have the results. Okay, in the next 1 minute, can I have the results, please? So our dear panelists today, 49% of the audience is female. Allow me to applaud the females. We are slowly gaining on the males. We have moved from a percentage point of 20% over the last 2 years to now almost. I'm looking out for that time when the females overtake the males. But also, the boy child, I'm also rooting for you to always stay in the lead. 51% are males. The age bracket, the age split, 54% of the persons here are above 40. 46% are below 40. And about belonging to a network, 81% belong to a network. 19% are lone shooters, lone rangers. They don't belong to any network. Productivity. How do you grade their network? 68% say their networks, and those are the ones that said yes, their networks are productive. 14% say they are non-productive. 17% they are just there for being. Jackie at a certain point will describe and tell us what just for being is, but it looks like 17% already understand what that is. So thank you so much, everyone that is attending. Allow me to just slide into the conversation, and I will begin to introduce the two wonderful panelists that we have. Even the moderator is not fit to introduce such accomplished persons. Allow me to slide into asking my panelists to introduce themselves, but before they do that, I like doing my own introductions. I said I'm not fit, but nevertheless, I am the headmaster of the class. I will still do a small introduction. One of the panelists I met, she will articulate that over the last 20 years, they have run a school known as Silver Spoon in Chibuli. This is a group of ladies. Most of you think that when ladies get together, they are just gossiping. No, but this group got together and put together a school. For the last 20 years, they have been eating money from the school. So, Florence Namaweje is here with us, but I'm going to give her a chance to introduce herself further. Then we have another quite accomplished lady. I mean, I run short of words, compliments to give such persons. Diana Sekaja. Diana Sekaja is a person who challenges me every time I hold my phone. I ask myself, I've been holding my phone with all this GB of data. What have I done with it? Most of you have phones with more apps than your age. But what have you done? What is the productivity rate of those apps? Using one of the apps on her phone, she mobilized the public and rallied behind them. The public rallied behind her, and they set up a project, an apartment project, an 12 apartment project in Bulindo, using her phone, using her network. She got to know that her network is on the phone, using the family members, friends, and strangers. They rallied capital and built that. I just had to say that because they may be modest and they don't say that, but me, I will brag on them. I know them for those things, and I will ask them to just kindly introduce themselves. As I mentioned, these are quite accomplished persons. Even the moderator is not fit to introduce them. So I'll ask Florence to introduce herself before I hand the class back to my moderator. Yes, it's on.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Florence Maweje. I'm an ex-banker. I was a general manager in human resource at Centenary Bank. I've just moved out of that. Prior to that, I worked with MTN, worked with Unilever. That was in the corporate world. Besides that, I was the first female president of the Human Resource Managers Association, and I contributed to its revival and to give it the position it has today in Uganda. I am an entrepreneur. I invest in various portfolio. I'm on the stock exchange. I'm on the Nairobi, Uganda, Johannesburg, and I'm also in the US internationally. I have a passion for investments, and I've done all this through networks, and I understand the benefits of networking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You are starting to make people feel bad. Eh? So she has her network stretch on the portfolio side, on the investment portfolio side, stretch through the Uganda Stock Exchange, the Nairobi Stock Exchange, Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the doors of New York Stock Exchange. So, I mean, who are you? I need you to start asking yourself, who am I in this world? But let me allow also Diana to briefly introduce herself. Please don't make us look bad.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Diana Sekaja Bagarukayo, and I'm an economist by training. Previously, I've worked for a number of organizations, World Bank, UNDP, Embassy of Ireland. My specialty is education planning. So I worked formally until 2021 in the education sector. I'm currently a consultant, still working on education, but also working on women empowerment, and I'm passionate about personal financial growth. I also started an organization called Phenomenal Women Global, which is an NGO that empowers women, and it's based both in Uganda and Switzerland. I'm a co-founder of that. But I'm passionate about a number of things. One of them is travel, another is real estate, and another is women. And one of the, I think we'll have an opportunity to speak later, but one of the things that that Apollo mentioned is a apartment block which we built, and that's really in my passion of financial growth and real estate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And finally, allow me to hand it back to Romeo.
Indeed.
Romeo, I just need to caution you, in this class, I am referred to as Sir Headmaster. Sir. Please repeat after me.
That is still on, 2 years.
Yes. Please repeat after me. I need to be sure.
Sir Headmaster. Sir.
Thank you. These ladies are ready to speak to you.
Indeed. A very good morning, ladies, and a very good morning to everyone who is watching us this beautiful Friday morning. My name is Romeo Busiku, and of course we are here to talk about leveraging networks to shape your financial future. In that regard, I do have a very intelligent individuals in my midst. That is Florence Maweje and also Diana Sekaja in my midst. Florence Maweje was a bit modest, but she's been around. Care International between 1996 to 1998, and then she joins MTN up to 2009. She's taken over by Unilever for 2 years, and then she later joined Centenary Bank. She'll be letting us know how she was able to leverage networks to move from one rank to another, from point A to B. How did networks actually play a big role in her success? Diana Sekaja, like she mentioned, she's an educationist, economist, and all that. Her strengths are in donor coordination and all that. She'll be letting us know about her work and career and how networks also helped her, bridge the success that we are talking about right now. But you're going to kick off with a very, very simple question. What is socio-capital? I'm going to kick off with Florence Maweje. What is socio-capital? Is it the ability to make people do what you want, give you the favors that you need? What is socio-capital?
Really, I would say one or two people coming together and pursuing maybe a passion and realizing what their contribution is to make certain things happen. To me, it's where somebody simply, people coming together and making a contribution. It's a give and take relationship. Yes.
All right. In your perspective, Dana Sekaja, how do you understand social capital?
For me, social capital is really about who you know and what you can do or what opportunities there are through who you know. And how you can achieve certain things through your networks. Yeah.
How were your networks able to help you get to, to become the person you are today?
I think there are two things. When I look at networks and I look at achieving certain things in my own life, there are networks that you happen to be in by virtue of the family you were born in, the school you go to, maybe the first place you work or the university you go to. So those are given networks that you have. And then there are networks that you enter into because you want to be in certain spaces. So for me, I'm a planner. I plan my life. Yeah, and I forgot to mention that I'm an author as well of a planning guide. I can speak about it later. But I'm author of a book called Dream It Possible, which is a life planning guide. So I think in addition to the natural networks that you have by virtue of who you are or who I am as a person, there are also networks that I enter because I have certain goals that I want to achieve. And so I choose to enter certain networks or join certain associations or get to know certain people who otherwise would have been out of my normal network.
So you were intentional about building these networks.
Exactly.
You just didn't let life happen.
Exactly. There are some networks which you have. I think the word they used was just for being. That, those are the networks that you have for maybe
family,
it's family, it's friends.
Yeah.
And those are good networks. But I think one of the things is to deliberately say, okay, as Diana, what do I want to achieve this year? And who are the networks that will help me achieve that? Whether it's still the same family, friends, or school, or it's new networks.
Indeed.
Yes. So very intentional and kind of planning out where you want to go and finding the appropriate social networks. Yeah.
And of course, we'd like to talk about leveraging and these networks, maintaining them and retaining these individuals within your circles. We'd like to know how you did it. But let's first go to Florence Maweje. We'd like to know how you were able to harness and build these social networks, at least from 1986. You've been active since 1986. How did you do that?
First and foremost, we had interests, common interests. First and foremost, when you get together, as my colleague has mentioned, you may have an objective for what you want to do. And we got, I'll give an example of the one that Mr. Headmaster has spoken about, is when we got together about 40, by then we were almost girls, 40 women, to make a contribution to society. We felt we wanted to solve a problem in society, but a problem for which we had a passion about. We wanted to free the time of the women. And us being women who were going through that experience, we were young mothers, and we felt that we wanted to utilize our time better. So we came together and formed a network. But in that network, we had to make contributions. And like any network, you should be able to add value and also get out value. So we came together and we decided to create a future for us, we wanted to build our future at that time that we would enjoy at this time. So we came together and decided to make an investment. And that investment, we were very deliberate about it. And we put together resources, pulled together. Those are the advantages of networks. You can't, let's say you can't wake up and build a school when you are at the age of 30 or 20. Of course, putting together resources.
With that financial
exactly. So we put together resources, and we were able to set out our plans, come up with a strategy. We actually made formal structures around it, systems, in order to be able to implement. So we put up a day. It started as a daycare to take care of the babies of those young women who would like to still go to the salon and so on. And we were able to come together. We agreed, we pooled resources. It was really friends from school. We had been from the same university, Makerere, and when we got together, it was a friend that called a friend. You know,
like we need to put together an international daycare.
Exactly.
We have children.
Yes, and we shared the same ideas. So we came together and we put up that school. And we wanted to be independent at that time. We said we don't want to be begging when we are old. So we would like to have an independent retirement.
Indeed.
Yes.
And then later on you joined Care International around 96. So 96, 98.
Okay,
and then,
the one for the school that I'm talking about was actually a personal, social network. It was nothing to do with my work. I was an HR manager in Care International at the time. But
you're doing something on the side.
This was something on the side. We used to meet every Sunday in Sheraton. I remember was our dream place, and to put together the ideas.
So passion played a big role.
Yes, it played a big role, and also financial independence in the future was key.
And of course, we have viewers and listeners who are, following this closely, and they're wondering, how did she make it from 1998 all the way to at least 2017, when she was at the helm of, Care International, then MTN, Unilever, and then later on, that is Centenary Bank. At Unilever, you were in charge of staff in 7 countries. So the viewers would like to know, did you use networks to actually catapult to success from one job to the other? Was it someone you knew in these companies? Was it the good CV that you had? We are talking about leveraging networks.
Okay. I'll try to be brief because it's a long journey. Say, for instance, in Care International, at that time I had graduated from Manchester University in the UK, and I returned. So I was working briefly with NARO, that is the National Agricultural Research Organization, and there was a launch of with the donors. So I was asked to attend. So as I was attending, I was interacting with the people.
I see.
And at that point in time, I met that would be my future supervisor at that event. And we exchanged notes, we discussed what I was doing and so on. And he was attracted to the things I could do and what I had learned.
Indeed.
And at that time, they were transitioning from personnel to HR. And they were looking for somebody that could help the organization do that. So I was, although we had to apply and go through the interviews and so on, but that's, again, how I got to know about that opportunity in Care International. Fast forward, MTN, it was a job that was advertised, and I thought I had what it takes. I applied, but really it was really family, I can say, that talked about, this is family in the US, that talked about the future of telecom. And they encouraged me to join, to pursue that career. So that's how I also moved into that space. But what I'm sharing is that the networks, I was getting information not from my own self, but I was getting it from the networks, from the people I knew, from the people that knew what I wanted to do, and also knew the kind of organizations for the Unilever, I was actually flying, and I came across a newspaper, and they were advertising this position, and it was actually describing me. And I said, let me give it a try. And I knew nobody in Unilever. I applied, went through the process, and got the job. At that time, I was working with MTN, but I was just traveling on a personal travel, and I came across this newspaper. But of course, a lot of these opportunities do come through friends, and of course you also consult, because in order to make a decision that changes your career, you do a lot of consulting within your networks.
Among your networks. Indeed.
Networks.
Feedback is a very, very important factor.
Yes.
All right. Diana Sekaja, we are talking about leveraging networks. It goes beyond going to networking events, sharing a business card here and there. Would like to know how you did it. As someone who is an economist and someone who is also so hard on education, you've been strong in donor coordination, and policy development and all that. We'd like to hear more about your journey. How did the networks that you've been harnessing all your life help you? How did they help you?
Yes, thank you so much. Just to share a bit about my journey, because my journey started actually working in a commercial bank for a year when I had just finished campus. But at that time, I was a teller in a bank and I was counting a lot of money. And I just felt, for me, when I was young, I felt like I wanted to save the world. So I wanted to get into development.
Yeah.
And I didn't see at that point how counting millions of shillings was taking me there. So I left the bank and I did an 18 months internship with Aga Khan Foundation at the time. So I left a paid job and went for, something where they were just giving us a stipend transport. Now that opportunity, I think, was in the newspapers. But one of the things which was interesting is that many of my friends, or a group of my friends, we encouraged each other or motivated each other to go and do that internship as a way of entering into the development field. So that was my first springboard to enter into development and then be part of the donor world, the education sector. But very interestingly, in terms of networks, I always tell people that most of the jobs I've got from the newspapers. So I have applied, but I have always had people help me along the way. Help you consult, as Florence said, you consult when you're doing your CV, you consult in order to prepare for an interview. So you consult other people who have gone ahead of you, who have been there and who have done that. And that is also part of your network. So for me, it has been, as I move in my career, I'm not moving alone, but I look to those who have gone ahead of me and say, can you help me here? Can you mentor me? How do you do it? One of my most recent positions was an education specialist in the World Bank. And I don't remember what year I joined, but when I studied my master's in economics, as an economist, you always think the top place you could work is the World Bank. So I wanted to work in the World Bank. As I said, I plan fast. And there was a lady who was working in the World Bank at the time, and I used to follow her, in terms of what is she doing. I would know meetings that she has attended. How does she conduct herself? A friend of mine remembers and always reminds me and says, you used to follow that lady. Now, I did not approach her to mentor me, but indirectly, you know, I was following her. So she was a role model to me. And I learned a lot from her. Eventually, when I had an opportunity to work in the World Bank, a friend of mine actually forwarded the job opportunity and said, there's this job opportunity in the World Bank. Would you know anyone who is interested, or might you be interested? Now, that person did not help me get the job, but they showed me the opportunity. And that is those are very important people to have in your network. People who are aware of what your ambitions are and who can then direct you to what it is. So for me, in terms of leveraging networks, it's knowing who am I surrounded around and who can help me with an ambition that I have. So for me, that has been vital in my career growth, to identify particular people and then say, I'm going to interact with them, I'm going to ask them, I'm going to get guidance from them.
I think I agree with you on that. Me, when I was starting out in 2011, I watched an advert on Top TV. They needed an anchor. I was only 20. I could only confirm with family members. I asked them, do you think I can really do it? They said, yes, you've been training for this your whole life. Just go try it out. So it was family that gave me the go-ahead. So I go to Top TV, and before you know it, they call me after 5 days. 13 years later, yes, here we are. But then the question is, how do you keep your networks happy? How do you maintain these networks so that every time you make that phone call, someone on the other side is eagerly waiting to pick up and, you know, talk to you? How did you maintain these networks to ensure that they were always happy and willing to talk to you and give you feedback? Florence.
Interestingly, of course, keeping in touch is very, very important.
Not only when you're in trouble.
Not only when you're in trouble, saying hi, meeting over a cup of coffee, and so on. Maybe one thing I didn't mention about some of the opportunities I found as I was going in my career was that when I got to some of these interview panels, I found my former schoolmates. Interesting. You never know where that. Yes. And a famous one is when I was being considered for the MTN job, the current chairman was actually my former, he went to the same school I went to. That's Namasagali College. And it was quite interesting to connect. So keeping in touch with your colleagues, making sure that you also contribute in whatever way. Not necessarily that you have to contribute money, but you will contribute ideas, contribute information, participate in activities that possibly bring you together, have a common cause. We have quite a number of opportunities, and especially today where there's technology. We have opportunities to be alumni of our former schools.
Rotary clubs.
LinkedIn is a key one. I've gotten opportunities through LinkedIn. I joined LinkedIn while I was at work. At that time I was in Unilever. But the number of people that I have interacted with on LinkedIn, and the opportunities that I have been given over LinkedIn, including board membership, is quite amazing. Many people think that LinkedIn is possibly just an online interaction. Indeed. But it brings a lot, and so it's important. Very many, and it's a professional.
No gossiping on that.
No. It's a platform whereby you can exchange ideas and views. So keeping in touch, very, very important. Giving is important. I'm also a member of certain social networks. Not necessarily that they bring in money, because we've talked about money and productive, but I don't believe that money is the only thing. Even just human beings being your friends, very, very important. We've had situations where now our families are growing smaller, and actually as you asked about, the social capital is very, very important.
Indeed.
And as you grow older, it's so critical because family goes away.
I see.
We are in very small nuclear families, and the kids go away, and you remain two of you. And the two of you have to have networks on both sides that keep you healthy. And you also contribute to those networks.
True.
We are part of those networks. And having social gathering, family ones. But we've had those ones, but we also invest in order to sustain ourselves as families. We've invested in businesses which are keeping us together.
True.
So that's the way to keep together with the networks.
All right, that is Florence Maweje for you. Remember, the gist of the conversation is to talk about how best you can leverage your network so that they could work for you even upon retirement. 12 years from now, I'm only 33, I'll be around 45. I'll be eligible to get half of my money at the NSSF. So the determinant of whether or not I'll be successful in the first 2 years when I get that money will be whether or not I harnessed and built networks as I worked during my lifetime as a worker. So it's really important to build your networks right now. Yes, I'm talking to you. You're working right now, but you need to build those networks. Don't just wake up, go to work, come back, sleep. No, you need to be talking to people who have been there before you, people who are older than you, much more experienced than you, so that upon retirement, when you receive your money and you're investing it, you're actually not out of business after 2 years because you didn't have the information, because you didn't have anyone to tell you what to do. So indeed, that's why it's really important to leverage your networks right now as you're growing up. Well, Florence Maweje was telling us what you need to be doing to maintain those networks, to be happy and to be able to return your calls. And would like to hear the 2 cents from Diana Sekaja. What are some of the tricks that you have up your sleeve to keep your networks very, very much happy?
Okay, thank you. I think first of all, it takes a bit of work because it's easy to meet people, it's easy to exchange cards, it's easy to get to know people. But maintaining those networks, to say that in a year's time, will Romeo remember me? I've met you today, but will you remember me?
Impact.
Or when I want to contact someone in media, will you remember who I am? Maintaining networks is very difficult and requires some work, which I think you have to be deliberate about. Because networks are important. We'll need them in every aspect of our life, whether it's in business, career, retirement. So to maintain those, normally when I meet people for the first time especially, I will then follow up with an email, with a phone call, with a conversation. If I meet people and maybe they're interesting, I would say, can we have a coffee to build onto that relationship? Otherwise, just knowing people is not enough. You have to get a bit deeper. So for me, in terms of maintaining networks that I've made, it's really just keeping in touch. I am still on some of the WhatsApp groups for places that I've worked over 10 years ago, but we now meet as former employees of this place, or we volunteer as former employees of certain places. So it requires a lot of deliberate effort and work. But 2 things that I want to say is, 1, be nice to people, because the world is so small. One of the positions that I got when I worked in that organization, I was told that I wasn't the best person for the job. I was actually the second best.
Okay.
But in the interview process, the boss, the CEO of that organization, asked his PA, what do you think of these top 3 candidates? And the PA said, that first one, the one who was the best, he didn't greet us, like he undermined us. Like she gave her feedback.
Oh, yeah.
And I realized that, yes, when I came, I greeted her, I sat with her. So
basics.
at the end of the day, when the boss was making the decision, we were all the best three, but he went with the one who his PA advised.
The one who was more human.
Who was more human. So be nice to people, because the world is so small. As you go through life, you might be looking for a plot of land. The person who knows where they're selling land is the driver.
Yeah.
Or is the Uber, you know. You don't know who you'll meet when. But if you're nice to people, they will remember that, oh yeah, I know this girl. You know, you didn't have any issues with them. But also be a useful resource, so that you've met people, they find you useful, they will call upon you. When you call upon them, they will remember you, because there was something useful, there was something you contributed. Yeah, so those are the 2 tips that I would want to give.
All right. I've also heard that social capital has some sort of impact on the well-being of children. How so?
Well, in terms of sorry, just explain.
Social capital. I've been reading somewhere, and it says that it has some sort of a great impact on the health of children. Since you're in education, I thought I would throw that in.
On the health.
On the health of the children, yes.
Well, maybe if we're talking about mental health, but in terms of social capital from the children's perspective, as a parent, I would speak as a parent. I think we also provide networks for our children as well, in terms of opportunities that open up because of what we do as a parent. For example, the schools you decide to take your child to, the people they interact with, who they socialize with, from that aspect, in terms of your own social capital and how it affects children, I would look at it that way.
In terms of well-being and the quality of life. All right. All right, we are still here at the NSSF. You're talking about leveraging networks so that they could be able to help you in old age, even when you do retire in that regard. We do have a problem here at the NSSF. They do believe that so many of the people that do take their money, they misuse it in the first 2 years. And the reason is that many do not leverage or build their networks when they are still in service. How terrible is that, Florence Maweje? Not harnessing or building any network while you're in service, and you wait until you're in retirement. You get your 50 or 100 million, you want to invest, then you start making phone calls. I used to know this guy.
Thank you. I think, as I mentioned when you were asking me about the way I did, first and foremost, you don't have to wait until you've completed or until you're getting, until you are 45. You harness that relationship while you are still wherever you are, making your contribution, getting ideas, because again, you don't want to invest that money just like that. First and foremost, I'll give my example, is that when we got together, we had to make contribution to buy shares into the company that we set up.
Yes.
And of course that requires resources, but sometimes it's not the kind of resources that maybe money that you have. You may have to even borrow from your network. And so you need to build that over a period of time. And when you're working, many a times the work networks are not, can I say, they are mainly professional most of the times, or for the business for which you are employed. So they may add value, but may not completely add your personal value. So your personal interests and values are the kind of networks that you join as you are still working. Somebody mentioned Rotary. People join the Rotary.
Yeah.
It also helps the other side of the social aspect of the network. It does not necessarily generate money, but it brings to you into contact with people that have ideas. Really, a number of people that know how to create wealth. You'll find them in those kind of environments. So by the time you get your money, you at least have those networks that you have been interacting with. But even then, when you get that money, you can consult or use the people that you've seen do things that you are passionate about, and find out how possibly you can actually also utilize your amount of money. Investing. We've invested in equities. It's something that is passive income that you can actually start investing in while you are still at work. And when you get that money, you know where to put your money.
Indeed.
So the networks give you ideas and opportunities and open doors for you by the time you get that money. Or you don't have to even wait for that money. You can actually leverage on the ideas that your networks have to build your wealth.
Let's say I'm now 45 and I've never built any network.
Never built any.
Never. Throughout my years of service. And I've now gotten some money, 100, 200 million. How can I put it to good use? How do I start even when I'm old to start building networks?
I don't believe that you'll be at 45, you don't have any network. You have, but we have formal and informal relationships, because really networks are about relationships, engaging with each other. But we have also financial advisors that help us to engage.
You could pay a firm to do that for you.
Yeah, you can pay a firm, or you can actually consult. This is exactly a network. Financial literacy is a key factor in managing your monies, especially that now you know that I'll be 45, I'll be accessing this money. How do I prepare myself for it? Planning is very, very important. Knowing what your passion is, what you want to do. But basically, there are options, and there's also financial advisory that is provided, I think, by NSSF. So it's also a platform where you can actually get your information.
All right, Diana Sekaja, you can pitch in on that one. We'd like to hear your 2 cents on that.
Yes, so you're 45 years old. And you're going to pick your 200 million. That was the example you gave.
Indeed.
And as Florence said, first of all, you do have networks because you have friends, you have family, you have school. Those are your natural networks. And those are people whom you can consult selectively, obviously. And then at the same time, there's a whole range of organizations, there's a whole range of associations that you can be part of. There's the Business Network International, Rotary, Lions. There's so many. Even myself, we have Phenomenal Women Global, which is also a women's network. So there are many people and many spaces that you can learn from. The first thing I would say is don't do anything with the money. As soon as you pick it, don't do anything. And many people have asked me that. They're like, I'm going to pick my money from NSSF. What should I do? And I always say, don't do anything yet. Give yourself some time to calm down and not be so excited. Otherwise, you'll immediately go into spending mode. So hold on to your money, even if it's for 3 months, if you have not planned for it. And first of all, see what is happening in the country. See what's happening in the economy. Do some research. Consult, so don't rush into anything. And there are a lot of resources which exist already. In terms of investment areas, people have already done and written so much on different investments around the country. So take a deep breath and then consult. But for most of the people listening, or for those who are under 45 who haven't yet picked their money, planning is essential. From the minute you're, even if you're in your 20s, you need to plan and know, this is where I want to be at 20, this is where I want to be at 30, this is what I want to do when I retire, so that when you get the money, it is now easy for it to facilitate the plans you already had.
Indeed.
So you don't get into panic mode, but you plan and know the direction that you want your life to take, and then act accordingly. But there are lots of resources, and there are lots of people that can be consulted for you to make a very good decision in terms of how you use your...
So they don't really have to wait for 45, 55.
No.
They could start there and
No,
there.
now. So even you here, you're 33.
Yeah.
Where are you going to be when you're 83? You should know that.
I should.
That will determine whether you're building a house in the village or you're going to be in a different country. Yes, plans will change, things will change, but at least you need to visualize certain things. And also, volunteer in different spaces so that am I interested in farming? Is it something I'd want to do? Go to people's farms and then you realize, maybe it's too much work. This is not my area. Am I interested in hospitality industry? Find out who you are.
And one mistake people are making, they do not want to volunteer.
Yes. Get
That's
to know
a fact.
yourself first. Yeah.
All right. Young people should be able to volunteer, because when you join these organizations, you're building your networks. Someone will be able to move you from point A to B. All right. We are talking about leveraging networks that will be able to help you in the future. I do have Florence Maweje and also Diana Sekaja. Sahid Master, sir, is on standby. All right. You want to say something, sir?
Thank you. Finish that title, please.
Sir Headmaster.
Oh,
sir.
thank you. Thank you, Romeo. I just want to give you a breather and just also to catch up and give you some of what the audience is saying.
What are they
Diana,
saying?
please, before you continue, you should let people know what that book is. Dream It Possible.
Yes.
They have been asking, and where would they get it? As part of the network, I am one of the persons you can actually reach and get it at an extra cost. But then I will let you know where the which place you can get that particular book. I would want to just acknowledge a few people also on this particular. I want to call this a network, this morning network. I want to just Reverend Jesse from the Renzoi Diocese, Sarah from London, Mubarak and Abraham from Qatar. I noticed you were one of the first people to log in, and I just want to say this so that people also fear me that I also have a network outside Uganda. Thank you so much about that. As NSSF, we are also, I need to let you know that we are also intentional about extending the networks we have. We do not know, my team and I do not know everything that you can possibly invest in, but what we know is the people who have done those investments. So the biggest resource we have at NSSF is we know people, and we are happy to link you to such persons. So should you want, Romeo, at 45, whatever you are visualizing to do, maybe you want to go into farming. At NSSF, we are telling you, let's take you to a farm when you're at 33.
Right.
So that you get into that farm environment. Let's take you to Kapshenga's farm,
Indeed.
Ian Clark's farm. Let's take you to in Kayunga at a goat farm. Let's take you to Sebambuli Day at Rakai. And you get into that environment, get into those networks, so that when you will get to make your decision whether you really want to. Sometimes it's just the heat of the moment, but when you are in their environment, in such persons, those are persons that have opened up their lives, they opened up their premises and facilities for us to take NSSF members to hold networks.
Indeed.
And if you are interested in such, we will have a link. We know we are organizing something for the coffee farmers and the goat farmers, or would-be farmers. We'll share the link after this in your emails, in your Zoom post messages, and you can just let us know and we will link you to such networks. Of course, for networks you need to invest. As NSSF, we used to pay for this, but we have reached a point and we said, let the people, if you're really interested in this network, you will invest 20,000 in transport.
Indeed.
Or you will invest your fuel, the rest we will do it. does your money in this is one of the questions that I want when you get on set for people to understand and ask. Oh, we also have cohort networks. We run different cohorts of different ages, people below 40, people above 40, because in that space people now start talking like peers. They will get all together, they will go through regimes together, so they start sort of visualizing, and we are happy to link you to that. You can go to the website and go to our NSSF page, NSSF website, and go to the financial literacy page. You'll be able to find some of these things. As I leave this and hand back to you, I want to just pose this question to Diana. As headmaster of this, I can actually pick out one of the tutors and ask them this. I just want her to share her experience. She has definitely done some of this, but my particular question is, do you regret ever inviting strangers and friends into a project that you had started? Of course, also Florence will tell us, because yes, we are talking about networks, but sometimes you look at the networks and you say, I wish I was alone. So would want to hear from them. Do you regret? And if we are regretting, what do we do about them? There are those networks you are deep in. You're already deep, knee deep. You actually can't. I know there are networks like marriages where you will not leave them. You have to smile about them. But what are those things? If you do, how are those? How do you go about that? And finally, as I go away, your money may not determine which network you belong to. Most, and this I'm speaking from experience, most times we get to pay people at 200 million. But the 200 million you have accumulated at NSSF, you really didn't put in that much effort, apart from your salary being paid and NSSF collecting from it. So sometimes it gives you the false belief that you are a 200 million person and you should not be lying around the networks of people of 10 million. So you go out looking for people who have been earning 200 million. And I feel like that is a misconception. Money is just money. It's a tool. It's a figure. You can increase it, you can decrease it. But your network, your net worth is the value you bring, the productivity. Someone can have 200 million but has productivity of 1 billion shillings. They have that potential. So I just needed to put this on the table for you to ponder about it. Your NSSF balance does not necessarily drop you into a certain level of persons you need to talk to. Romeo,
do we have any questions? Social media? Do we have?
We have a number of questions, and we have sent them to you. Please to pass them on. You'll be receiving them.
Okay.
Please.
All right. You had a question for Dana Sekaja. She's just going to pitch in on that one. If I made the wrong networks, and I'm asking myself, how do I jump out of this? What do I do?
Yes. So his particular question is about do I regret bringing people on board into my network, strangers on board into my networks. And I know the particular example he's maybe speaking about is the apartment block, where we mobilized people we know, but also complete strangers to contribute towards building an apartment block. The answer is yes and no. Yes, it's easier when you're alone in an investment and it's just you, it's you're your own boss, it's your money. But the thing is, you'll never go
the
far.
Extra mile. Yes.
You'll never go far because you'll never have enough resources, both financially, but even maybe technical input. So no, I don't regret bringing on board people, even strangers, because there's always something to learn from people. We're currently finishing our first apartment block, and it has given us many lessons that you learn, and you wouldn't have learned those lessons if you were alone or if you were with people who know you.
Oh, yeah.
But now, you have someone saying, oh, do you have this? We need this document. We need that. So you learn things from bringing on strangers as well. So no, I don't regret. I would do it again. We already have people who are waiting for us, Ugandans like to to see things working, and then they're like, now can we come on board? Previously we were begging people, but we already have people waiting for us in the next couple of projects that we're developing. Yeah, so there's always something to learn. You take those lessons and then put in systems in place to know, we have particular systems in place. Also bringing up the experts, because, for example, when you ask someone to join you, you don't realize, you need a lawyer, you need an agreement, you need all these things in place. So it's been a learning journey, but a very fruitful one. And then lastly, strangers, they say strangers are people you didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
So once you bring on someone whom you don't know, you're also tapping into their networks. So through interacting with other people, I've widened my networks into the strangers' networks, and those strangers become friends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the strangers could be helpful.
Yes.
At some point.
Yeah.
But then working with the family, how detrimental is it for working with family members on any kind of investment?
I think in my view, it's still difficult because family is family, and many times you don't want your decisions to be based
on feelings,
on feelings and emotions. That happens in many of, for example, the family investment group that we're in. Someone can maybe not pay up, and then you know there are other problems, and so dealing with family is difficult. But I think for me personally, I feel that if we're not supporting or working with family, then what are we doing?
Indeed.
Yeah, we might just be the person that is supposed to support and bring up that family or that family member. So although working with family is difficult, I think it's inevitable. But it's also important to put structures that protect yourself. So, for example, in one of the savings groups that's a family, we have someone who we have contracted who does the administration.
Who is not family.
Who is not family. So that person does their job in debt collection or whatever it is. Yeah. So although you can work with family, put in systems in place. Yeah.
All right, we are not negating the significance or importance of family. We are just trying to air out the pros and cons that would come about if you were to work with family members. Remember, family is also part of the socio-capital. You do have family at the micro level, you do have the neighbors at the meso level, and nationally, the people you meet, when you move out, when you go to work, that is the macro level. Yes, let's hear your 2 cents, Florence Maweje, on that.
Yeah.
Family, strangers, the mix.
Yeah, working with family, of course, we've...
not family per se, but if I realize the network I'm in is absolutely not working for me, how do I get out?
Oh, okay. That has happened before.
Yeah.
First and foremost, when you come together, you have a purpose for which you would like to maybe
Shared
build
values,
or share resources, come up with maybe a project or whatever. And you realize that actually you are actually miles apart within the family. For me, I've cut it. It's one thing. I don't want to waste time because you are bound to lose much more.
Oh, how?
Because as you stay in, it becomes more toxic and toxic and toxic and forever.
Okay.
In another situation, I've had to nurture, depending on what it is like, whereby you realize that actually you came together to do something and it's not taking off. You're just oscillating, indecision, and so on. You try and nurture. And in most cases, or in this particular situation that I'm looking at, we just decided to be a few of us. Sometimes we believe that numbers is what counts and not necessarily. So the few took it on, and we decided to actually make sure that we address the negativity that is there, putting in systems to make sure that it governs the mission that we wanted to achieve. And at the end of the day, after we sailed through, eventually other members started coming on board, as she actually mentioned. They come back on board and whatever. Others really completely fall out, and you have nothing to do but to move on, because you have to move on. But there's a tendency of people waiting for others to. So you have to have the energy to make sure that you drive that that network and make it purposeful and actually achieve your purpose. Yeah, because in most cases, people wait for others too. And it has to be some few, not many, a few that drive it. And once it's on, then others will come on board.
All right, we do have some young people who are watching and they are wondering, if I have 3 million, 5 million, what kind of business can I invest in right now as a 25-year-old, 23-year-old moving forward? Because we talked about not waiting for 45 when you get the millions, 200, 500 at the moment.
Dan, I want to take that on.
I can try. So 3 to 5 million, where do you invest in? I think the first thing that you need to do is do your research. Yeah. So, okay, attending the Zoom is one of the things, but also do your research. And as I said earlier, find out what is happening in the economy, but also find out or look at yourself and what your interests are. Things that you can do, that you're interested in doing. See what other people are doing. So there's a lot of research and things that you can find out about. In Uganda, of course, we say agriculture. People have to eat, so there's always room to do something along agriculture. 3 to 5 million. I can't say off the top of my head what you could do, but I know that if you have a goat, if you have a pig, if you're rearing, whatever it is that you can do around agriculture, feeding is always something.
Rearing.
Yes. Buying and selling, trade. Yeah. There are a lot of things which are being sold, for example, downtown, which you can sell to the people uptown. Yeah. I have a friend or many people are doing it these days. They don't own a shop. They just own their phone. Somebody else owns a shop. But they use their phone to market the different products downtown. Yeah, the person who I buy some of my things from, she doesn't own the shop, but she's gone, she's taken pictures. So when you say, okay, I need a drinking bottle, I need this, she'll have it delivered to you. So she's just making a margin using your money to then go and buy and deliver to you. So I think that's, trade is the oldest thing in the market. That's another thing. Trending now, which probably doesn't need a lot of capital, are things around social media management, which many of the young people are doing as well. So I think there are lots of opportunities, but the starting point is also what is your interest and what can you follow through. Because if you're not interested in it, even if you tell me that it only needs 3 million and I cannot follow it up, it will fail. Yeah. So start with your interest, brainstorm on who I am, what can I do with my gifts and talents. If you're someone who knows how to make cakes, then yes, you can make cakes. But do research and see, are you doing cakes for an occasion? Or are you selling maybe cakes to a canteen? You need to do that extra research. But there are definitely some things you can do that don't require as much capital, or that would need you to buy a small machine or something like that. Yeah.
Florence, what should I have at the back of my mind if I want to have a leg up in my career and build? If I want to have a leg up in my career, what should I have at the back of my mind as a young person?
As a young person, I think the most important thing is being professional. You should have integrity in whatever you do, being able to what you promise is what you deliver.
Indeed.
Of course, nothing comes by easily. You must work smart. I know we talk about working hard, but working smart puts you ahead of the pack. And I think in terms of being innovative, creative, very, very important. And I think of an on topic, networked. I think one of the things that I've come across in the recent past is that when you're being considered for something, they ask, what value do you bring on the table? And one of the key factors are your networks. So as a young person, start building intentionally relationships, things that will bring value. It does not necessarily mean that you must have 100 people, but you have some few very critical touch points that you can trigger to actually create value for whoever you would like to work for.
Indeed.
I think you talk about career. Yes.
All right, Diana Sekaja, what skills does one need if they want to succeed at networking?
The first thing I would say is, first of all, know who you want to network with.
Oh, yeah.
As I said, for me, I'm very deliberate in terms of looking at what my goals are for the year or for the years. And you probably know the different spheres of life. The different spheres, spiritual, financial, personal. There are about 8 spheres of life. So at the beginning of every year, or even at the end of the previous year, I kind of plan out who do I need to network in each of the areas. For example, if I want to grow spiritually, and I know that that's an area that I'm not very strong at, I'll say, okay, so it's church, and this is what I need to do, and these are the people I need to be part of.
Right.
Yeah. If it's in my career, and maybe for this year I'm looking to get a promotion, maybe that means I need to network with maybe my boss, learn a few skills from him, or I need to get a mentor. So it's about, first of all, being deliberate before you get into what skills do you need. And then in terms of practically, now you're going to network, you need to put yourself out there. You need to put yourself out there. The network won't find you in your home.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to be able to go and meet people. You need to also, many times I find you also need to be vulnerable to some extent about what your personal desires are in terms of your growth or what you're doing. Share a bit of your story. I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't have met Apollo if we hadn't shared what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah.
So when you share what you're doing, then people are able to direct you to people or, open doors for you. So you need to also be a bit vulnerable. I think as you network, you also need to bring something to the table because, nobody wants someone who is always receiving, I'm looking for a job, where can I find a job?
Yeah.
But what are you bringing to the table? Instead of telling me that you're looking for a job, why don't you come and say, is there somewhere I can volunteer with you? Or is there something you need help in? I'm free at the moment, I'm not working. Do you need someone to run your errands? I'll more likely bring you into my network, and you'll more likely find opportunities there or find a job. So those are the 3 things that I would really want to say is put yourself out there, be vulnerable, but then also bring something to the table so that you're also giving. Because the people who you're networking with want to know, what are you bringing to the table? You can't always be the beggar or be on the receiving side.
Florence Maweje, we are talking about what skills one needs to actually succeed at networking. She says the young people have to have that spirit of volunteering. They have to volunteer for many of these jobs so that they could get the networks and also the experience in that regard. That aside, what are some of the other mistakes our young people are making?
I think some of the mistakes that they do not accept maybe what the status quo demands and go out of the way. out of their reach in terms of maybe ambitions, expecting so much, only taking but not giving, get rich quick. Those are some of the things that kind of sometimes misshapes them. For instance, somebody says, if you stay around rich people, you also become rich.
It will rub off on
You
you.
don't become rich. You put in effort. Those people, and those people want mutual relationships. But there's a tendency of young people thinking that they will only be taking other than also being. So, as she said, present yourself in such a way that you are also offering something so that you can be able to get your communication. Sometimes we talk too much. Sometimes it's good to listen. Very, very important to listen, because in the listening is where you pick the issues. But when you talk too much, preoccupy the person who is supposed to give you value, you sometimes miss the value that you would have gotten if you had listened at least a little bit more. And follow up. Following up is critical, because once you meet, you've chatted, you think it will the person will follow you up. No. Follow up intentionally, but take notes. Be prepared. Plan. Intentionally, like she says, deliberately have an interaction, but with meaning. There's one I was talking to one time and said that when they get into these meetings, events or whatever, when they meet, there's usually cocktails where you stand and you have a drink. After they've done the introductions, there's that tendency of the business cards. Although how many business cards do you still have? Imagine.
Indeed.
Many of them, we get them, put them in the bag. You see them when you're changing the bags, or sometimes you never even revisit them. But when he gets that business card, he runs across the room, of course not running physically, but he goes somewhere, Googles out that person, finds out a lot about this individual. By the time of the next tea break or interaction, you already have details of what this person can offer, what value they can get out of them, and what they can also offer. So by the time they are interacting, they are giving something, and then this person remembers them, and then they follow up with a call and whatever, and the person remembers because definitely this person stood out. He even knows what I what I do, or what I get involved, or what my networks is, or what my companies are. It's very, very important that you get that information, and it helps you to also build the relationships.
And indeed, I can testify to that. I remember 2023, I was quoting a few clients for the People's Parliament. I started in January. So I'd keep on calling. March, June, nothing happens. September, nothing happens. So I keep on calling, and I'm like, what is happening? The People's Parliament, are we going to do an activity? So miraculously in December, they say, okay, Romeo, we are giving you money for the 16 days of activism. Meaning, if I had stopped in between, if I had stopped following up, finding out how, what these individuals were doing, keeping them abreast with information on my side, I wouldn't have gotten that deal. And then I noticed my peers, the young ones, they give up so quickly.
Oh, yeah.
They will try something today. If it doesn't work in 6 months, trust me, they'll leave it. Try something else. And then in 10 years, if you had to ask this individual, what experience do you have? They'll be like, I did one too many things, so I don't know what I can do, very, very well wholesomely. So they give up so quickly, and they don't believe in themselves.
Resilience.
They do not have that resilience, in that if someone doesn't come out to say, you're doing a great job, they'll give up, because there's no one egging them on to keep on pushing.
Sure.
And I do have some more questions here from our members. Mubarak Mugenyi says, "Good morning, NSSF. I'm a member. Straight to the point. Kindly guide the audience on the difference between saving and investing, and what is the right time to withdraw savings wherever you might be keeping it and invest it in a cash cow." That is for you, Diana.
So the difference between saving
And investing.
investment.
And the right time to withdraw your savings and invest.
Okay. So savings is really just putting money aside from income or money that you obtain.
Oh, yeah.
It's putting money aside, and you can save in a bank. You can save using any of the different tools that are available, like unit trusts or fixed deposit. So it's really putting money aside. And I mainly look at two types of savings. One, there's saving for a rainy day, saving for maybe incidentals or emergency kind of fund. And then there's also saving for investment. So you have something you want to invest in, but you need to accumulate a certain amount of money. So that would be saving for investment. So first of all, yes, it's good to get into the habit of just saving, put the money aside. But if you have a particular investment that you want to do, you know the value of that investment. Whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's a business, whether it's something that you want to buy or whatever. So once you have accumulated enough money for a particular investment, then that should be the time to withdraw it. Or when you have accumulated, at least a startup for a certain investment, then you can withdraw it. But at the same time, when we talk about saving for investment, there are particular maybe investments that you do which can grow your money. Yeah. So you may be saving for a particular, maybe a business or something in particular, but also you can just save and invest that money. For example, if you're using treasury bills or bonds, if you're doing unit trust, you save, you can save separately, but put that money in those kind of investments. Yeah. So in terms of when do you withdraw it, I'm assuming the question is when do you withdraw it from
and then invest
it
in a cash cow.
And invest it in a cash cow. Let your savings grow a bit and then invest it. But you need to know what you're investing it in. I know there are many savings groups that are saving money and haven't yet identified, maybe they're just saving maybe on a savings account in a bank, but they haven't yet identified where they want to invest it. So they need to know and say, maybe if our money grows up to 20 million, we're going to remove it from our savings account and put it in a bond. Set a target for what you want your savings to be before you invest it.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, Mujani Mubarak, thank you so much for that. I hope that answer was satisfactory. I also do have here someone for you, Florence. I had someone did something with friends from school. They're talking about you. But if they keep dragging you and you drop them, which process do you use to allow them into the business when it has peaked, considering the capital injection they would bring is massive and can scale up the business?
Good one.
Yeah.
At what point in time do you allow them in? That's
Yeah.
basically the
Yeah, yeah.
question. First and foremost,
That is after you had dropped them.
after you've dropped them.
Yes. So he says, they keep dragging you and you drop them. Which process do you use to allow them into the business again?
Okay.
Considering the capital injection they would bring now is massive and can scale up the businesses.
Yeah, the first and foremost, not necessarily that we dropped there, but I'll give an example.
Yeah.
We did convert our input into the business, into shares.
Yes.
So the shares did have value. So when somebody has dropped off and they want to come back, they'll buy the shares at the value of the when the share at the value of the
Yes.
shares of the business,
At the moment.
and that is capital injection again, and they can scale up the business. That is if they still maintain the same values that you have. But if they don't have the same values, because they can be toxic, and you may have also to consider having been put on systems. At what point in time do you allow shareholders? Of course, there's criteria that you can use to actually allow or not allow an individual. Yeah.
Dana Sekaja, there is someone here with a very, very interesting question. He's talking about how people in their 20s can intentionally build networks. Let me just read it word for word. Thank you so much for the ongoing discussion. However, with one working at a job 8 to 5 p.m., and yes, I agree with building networks, but imagine we've all just graduated and have no jobs yet, hence not been able to save, and looking at having a network that will go a long way till retirement. So which networks would you advise people in their 20s to join intentionally? Also, does our personality or character affect us having reliable networks?
Okay. So in your 20s, which networks can you join?
Yes. And
No
you
money,
remember
no
you've just
job.
graduated, you have your transcript, no job.
Okay.
So which networks are you going to intentionally vie for? It's a good one.
Yeah. I think there are many networks that exist that don't require you necessarily to have a job. And as I was saying, look at the different spheres of life. So one is your church network. Remember, even if you go to church, remember the people who you meet at church are also professionals.
Oh, yeah.
They have jobs. They are possible employers. That's one quick network. Join your church network. And that doesn't mean just going to church, but it means getting involved in groups, in committees, in whatever. Then there are also lots of opportunities to volunteer in different organizations. So if you go to an organization and you're not looking for a job, but you're looking for a volunteer position, some organizations have either internships or opportunities for you to just volunteer, particularly maybe NGOs.
That is wise.
Then there are associations like ISEC, like Rotaract. You don't have a job, but those networks give you an opportunity to meet people, because it is about meeting people for someone to say, our organization has an opening, or there's an opening for you to volunteer.
True.
Yeah, so there are definitely many spaces that you can go to. And if you're in your 20s, you're definitely tech savvy, so also use the online platforms to look for opportunities to volunteer, to look for opportunities to work. I've seen some opportunities which I'm really interested in, but I can't do them now. There are opportunities to even work on people's farms, on people's NGOs, etc., for free. Many people are looking for, they want you to volunteer work, and instead they give you accommodation and things like that. But all those opportunities, you actually meet people.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I would encourage them to go through that kind of list.
Yeah.
Then personality. The question I think was, does your
it was
personality...
does it affect your ability to leverage networks?
Definitely. Personality affects your ability to leverage network. Personally, I'm an introvert. I would rather be behind my desk.
You don't look it.
And not talk. I would rather be watching Netflix,
Yes.
But if you have a goal and you want to achieve certain things in life, you will not achieve those in isolation, in your comfort zone. So one, if I look at personalities, there are introverts, there are extroverts. There are people who are outspoken, people who are shy.
Here in the middle.
Okay. So definitely, one, if you're an introvert, you need to force yourself, for lack of a better word, proactively put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And one thing, for example, about introverts is we thrive in small spaces, but we're also very analytical, very deep, very,
True.
So you just need to put yourself in a space, but when you begin to engage with people, when you begin to interact with people, you'll be able to network. Extroverts are more outspoken, more out there. But many times they say extroverts don't develop as deep relationships as they should be. So you might know many people, but you don't know people who will invest in your business. You don't know people who will give you opportunities. Because when you meet, you're telling a story, telling a joke, laughing.
Yes.
You know? So both introverts or extrovert, whatever your personality type is, one, assess yourself so that you know this is my strength. You know? I am shy, I am not confident. So let me go out there, let me join Toastmasters so that I learn how to speak and I meet people at the same time. Or if I'm an extrovert, I'm out there, but let me try and also get to know people. Let me listen to them. They may share an opportunity which will help me later on. So it's just about self-awareness and finding what works best for you.
Right. It's all about self-awareness and finding out what really works for you. You don't have a job, you've just graduated, look for an NGO, volunteer. In that company, the individuals you will talk to who will be willing to give you the gist, who will be able to tell you, you know what, there's an opening next week. So please apply, but you only get to be able to know that information if you are on the inside. So fight so hard to get on the inside. Don't focus on the money. When I got that job at Top TV, I was never paid for the first 3 months. The pastor, Pastor Senyonga, said, I need to test you, test how much you love this. I said, I love it, but I went through interviews with 200 people, and now you're telling me I have to work for free? You said, yes, I'm testing your resolve if you really want this. So 3 months down the road, he gives us a paltry 400,000. That did not stop me. Others quit. They were like, 400,000, we're not taking it. So I stuck to my guns. 6 months later, 1.2 million. I was only 20 years. It was beautiful for me. So just don't give up. Even though you're just a graduate, find somewhere you can volunteer. Someone is going to see the good work that you're putting in, and you'll be put on the payroll. All right, that's why we are here, to share information. And I do have some more questions right here for my panelists, for Florence Maweje and Diana Sekaja. There's one here. Hello, everyone. Great team on board today with the challenges of managing working hours and pressure. How do you build your potential retirement venture so that when you receive the NSSF money, you are boosting it to not starting from scratch? You are boosting it, not starting from scratch. Did you get that?
Yes.
I think he wanted to say boosting it. Boosting it, not starting from scratch. Oh yeah, with the challenges of managing working hours and pressure, how do you build your potential retirement venture so that when you receive the money, you are boosting it, not starting from scratch? That goes to you, Florence.
Thank you. Sounds very familiar.
I know. A bit.
I think who has asked for it?
Didn't give us a name.
Passive income was one of my investment areas, where you invest and your money works for you as you also hustle out into that full-time work. And those in that portfolio of passive income is where we talk about stocks or shares. They'll get you dividends and so on. They'll grow. Another passive income is whereby you invest in maybe because he said he's still young, so yes. I won't go into the big ones. It's the shares you can buy or participate in land, depending on how much you have. Today, we have various plots that land is subdivided and so on, so you can get affordable. Don't buy land in town.
Okay.
Buy land out of town, because land appreciates. You can still convert it. I remember that was very, very early. That was about 1996. I bought some land worth, was it 500,000? And that was in Bweyogerere. It was a plot of land at that time. but you can't believe it appreciated, and I was able to sell it later about 40 million.
Wow.
So I'm just giving you a magnitude of what your 500,000 that you think is so small can do. You can invest in passive income. You can invest in circles, so that as you get interest or deposits, you don't get a lot of money. But I believe savings schemes help grow your money, and you are able to put aside money, accumulate it, and when you get a booster like NSSF, you can be able to invest in something bigger. I'll give an example. If you want to buy property or if you want to invest into property, you may not be able to put together that money for personal use, but you can actually put aside, and if you get your money as NSSF, you can also be able to pay. Or you can borrow. It's also possible to borrow as you invest, but making sure that you do it for the right reason. And then as it grows, you are able to, when you get, you are able to even pay back that money when you get your NSSF, but you will have already gotten your property. I think I did something similar to that.
Oh, yeah.
And you because the money from NSSF comes as a lump sum, or it's quite big, you can actually utilize the opportunities available, knowing that I'm about to get there. Then it will help you clear whatever loan you have, but you'll have gotten what you want to get. Yes.
So how would you be able to juggle the fact that you're working on 8 to 5, 9 to 5?
Okay, from experience, first and foremost, when you work 8 to 5, you still have some time that you save. As I mentioned, when we were starting our business, we used to meet. We used to meet over the weekends. Eventually, as the business we were growing, the business, we were the ones managing the business. We used to go after work hours. We used to meet on weekdays after 5, because there's still time. Because that time you use it for drinking or whatever. For us, we are busy generating
true income.
The wealth that we need. So there's a lot of time. It's a matter of managing your time and being able to actually even balance. And when you have something to do, you are able to actually organize your work, your 8 to 5 very well, that you are able to leave so that you are able to do the other venture. In most cases, the reason why you end up again working extra hours is because you have nothing else to go to.
Indeed.
We used to network after 5. When I was heading the HRM association, we used to meet after work hours to create all whatever we had to do, or meet very early in the morning before 8.
I see.
So there's time, you have the time that you can use.
Very knowledgeable guests that I do have here. They come with a wealth of information on the topic that we are having in our midst, leveraging networks that can be able to help you in your future. Well, before my phone blacked out, I could see many of you, yes, on social media, watching us on YouTube Live. Thank you so much for making the time to actually follow the proceedings live right now. But before my phone blacked out, I had seen a question coming in on YouTube. One was wondering how or what kind of skills they could use right now in this day and age, 2024, if they wanted to set up a daycare. You did that back in the day. Someone wants to venture into that business. They'd like to get some information from you.
Okay, first and foremost, setting up that daycare started with us.
Yes.
Because we were in that age group. We were having our firstborns, others were just,
like, I'm going to be
getting
busy,
married
so
and so on.
You've wanted a
so
place
we
where
were seeing that, we got
True.
that information from that experience. Secondly, we did a lot of research. And we wanted to target where that service is likely to be required. So today, of course, you have technology. You can be able to get that information off the net, knowing the different locations and so on. I know a number of schools have come up, a number of daycares have come up. Let me be, I live in the areas of Bugolobi. I think in that area, when I look at the young people there, I think are very, very few. Because that is now an area where older people are living.
True.
But I've heard of course, when I was still in the corporate world, we used to have the fun about Nansana and Nigeria.
Yeah.
That's where the young people thrive. And if
Gayaza
you want
too.
to put up a daycare, Gayaza, whatever, what I'm trying to say, a young upcoming neighborhood, then you know that these people are very they have young toddlers, or they are in that age of marriage, or they are just leaving school. We have opportunities like apartments and so on. Most of the apartments are occupied by the young people. So you look for opportunities in the neighborhood.
Identify a university, put up some rentals there.
Yes, identify
secondary school.
an area, and you can be able, you don't have to put up a building, you can rent, because now properties are there.
True.
For us, we had to put up buildings and everything because there was scarcity. But now there are properties and properties that you can start by renting without having to put up. So there are a number of opportunities, but do your research and target the areas that you think are least opportunities, are areas where the opportunity is there. Don't go again into areas where you struggle with the parents to pay school fees. Again, look at the research, do your research. You should be able to establish the opportunities that are lying within certain neighborhoods. And Nansana and Nigeria, Gayaza, those are the areas now to think about, because that's where the young people are, and they don't want to move distances with their children. But they want very cozy, nice places, which is like a reflection of the home, where they will give their children to, they don't want to leave their children with the maids. They want to put their children in a place where they feel they are safe, and they will find them healthy and happy. That's what we leveraged on and managed to get that. But there are certain neighborhoods that have grown quite old now. Yeah, you may struggle to get the young people.
And also don't forget to offer transportation to the young ones. You should be able to pick them from our homes and to the establishment and back home
There's a
again.
client for you already.
All right, before I hand over to Sir Headmaster, sir, I saw you, Dana Sekaja, itching to say something in response to what she was saying.
Yes, I wanted to just say, so two things. One is Uganda Investment Authority has what they call a compendium, I think, of different projects. So it has already hired people, and they have written how to start various businesses. I think it's about 100 pages. It's available online for Uganda Investment Authority. So for any business you want to do, you can go and use that as a basis. And then, of course, now in this digital world, everything is online. So do your research for any new project or anything that you want to do in your retirement, and then look for the experts to fill in the gaps in terms of what you don't know. And also, as you prepare for your retirement, it would be good to experiment in a small scale some of the projects that you're thinking about doing. So if you want to do a chicken farm, first try keeping 10 chicken. If you want to grow 2 acres of tomatoes, first try growing, a few decimals so that you learn. And when you get your NSSF money, you're not doing something for the first time. Thank you.
All right, to the investors who are watching, well, as Rome Busiku, as for me, I would like to invest in a school, preferably from kindergarten, primary, secondary, up to university. You don't have to worry about where I'm going to get the lecturers or the teachers from. Okay, I do have all those. Just focus on the financial muscle. Look for me, bring the millions. Let's set up a school that is going to be teaching our learners at a subsidized, cost, or pretty much free.
Understand that.
Depending on where the money is going to be coming from. I'm really intentional on that. Look for me on all my socials. That is at Romeo Busiku on Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, let's talk. Sahid Master, sir, the floor is now all yours. I believe you've exhausted each and everything.
Thank you so much. You have not even scratched a little bit of what we need to cover. This conversation goes on and on.
Yeah.
There is a lot that needs to be picked up. Diana did mention about the Compendium. When you go to our NSSF website, you can be able to scan a QR code which will lead you to the UIA Compendium. We also have a few flyers and brochures for anyone who picks their money will be able to access that information.
Yeah.
We have also profiled a number of popular businesses. Chicken, we have done chicken, we have done goat, we have done coffee, we've done forests, and we have put it on our social media. For you, we've put in a small 3-minute videos, about 5 or 6 part videos of how you can go through these businesses. We are going to do more. Most likely.
Does it include cocoa growing?
Cocoa not yet.
A sack is now at $10,000.
Yes,
Very
we are one at a time, but most likely we'll also now be profiling the networks of the apartments, and we'll put it there. Why do we do this? And remember, we are using your money. These are things you're already paying for. You need to utilize them because you are paying for. They are not free. You are paying for them. We are using your money to get this information to you. So kindly access it and have value for your money. As headmaster, I have extended the class for 5 minutes, and I will need to engage these good persons. But at NSSF, we also you have options. You're picking your money. We have an option to leave your money at NSSF. That's one of the options. You're not yet sure what you want to use it for. You have an option to leave your money. It will earn interest. You have an option to take part of your money and then leave the other part. You can say, let me first take 40 million. Test it out. If it works out, pick for the balance. If it doesn't work out, hide away from what you have left at NSSF until you are very sure. We also have the voluntary option. And again, allow me to give you a heads up. We are going to be looking out. We are testing our new products on the voluntary space. We are looking for volunteers. We don't need that many. We need about 50 volunteers to test out the new products on the voluntary aspect. We will share with you a link if you're interested and you fall into that criteria. You shouldn't be a voluntary member currently. You should be a prospective voluntary member. You register on that link and we can test together. We'll give you those details in the post emails. I want, before we go out, it's usually my favorite moment. 2 things. Each of my panelists, when I call you, just say, Sir Headmaster, sir. Each of my panelists.
Sir Headmaster, sir.
I like that title because it's not going to go away even when I leave NSSF.
I like it.
Unlike my colleagues, Jackie, who's the customer financial advisor here, when she leaves NSSF, she'll be former NSSF staff. For me, I'll go with my title.
Sir Headmaster,
so, 2 things that I would like to get from each of you, and this will come. 1, what is that book, website, or link, or reading material you would want to leave with these persons to ponder on something you think that would be of use to them? But also, number 2, what is that one appeal you are telling this person? Remember, 54% of these guys are above 40.
True.
Romeo, you may not
33.
You may
Still
not
young.
understand our age, but 46% are below 40. What is that one thing you are given this one chance that you may never interface with them, that when they see you 10 years, 20 years from now, they will say, thank you. You said that. I picked it up and so each of you is giving me those two: your appeal and your book recommendation. And given that Romeo was doing the asking of the question, he will will answer the questions. We'll go first in answering the questions.
All
Please.
right. My only advice to everyone who is watching, please start right away. Whatever you want to do, start right away. Me, I started reading news at the age of 20. Many people tried to discourage me. They were like, don't do it. There are other experienced people within the profession. You won't make it. But I did. It's been now 13 years. I'm 33. Now I have a wealth of information in this field. I've built an array of networks in this field. Ministers, MPs, media practitioners, religious individuals, everyone is in my fist right here. So I'm telling you, please start right away. If it's a business and you're 19 right now, kindly start right away. Don't wait for the millions or the billions. Start with what you have. Someone will see you, the hard work you're putting in, and they'll aid you. Those are the networks that we are talking about. If you are unemployed, we talked about volunteering. Go to an NGO, volunteer. Within that NGO, you'll find very good people who will tip you on when the next job opening is going to be. And that's how you'll get a leg up in your career. But don't stay at home. Maximize on those socio networks, especially for those who are creative artists. Put your work out there. Let your content be seen by the CEOs and the MDs. They'll give you a phone call in that regard. Don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. Even if you've tried 10 or 20 times, continue. Resilience is the answer. Kindly do not give up. Love what you do.
Thank you. I'll get back to you on the book. Can I go to Florence? One thing before Florence comes on, and again, I'm the headmaster. She won't do anything to me until we leave the set. But one of the things I need to note about is she is retired and wealthy. It wasn't just, she just didn't jump into it. So that she will not tell you, but me, I will tell you. She is retired and okay. She is not looking for the next contract. She is okay. Of course, don't. Yes, but it's been a process, and we've been following this journey. It's not something you woke up in the morning and say, "I am retiring today. The money is going to come." So, Florence, sorry I have put you under pressure, but when you're on my side, what you do is just seeing, and you can't avoid to say what you see. But
you've humbled me so much. Thank you so much. I would say true. I've retired, but I didn't jump into it. I planned it. And I think you can plan and you can diversify the portfolio. When I say portfolio, it means the makeup. Because when you say wealth, we talked about we talked about the net worth, and when you think about a net worth, is your assets less liabilities. So assets are built over time. It's not of one day you bump into it. So I did build my platform, if I may call it, over a period of time. But I did not focus on only one aspect. I looked at the different aspects. And one of the driving factor was I never wanted to burden my children when I retire or when I get old. And there was a role model that I had seen, very wealthy individual who happened to be in our circles in the family, and he used to go to visit his children in the U.S., but he never stayed with his children. He lived in hotels, and we used to say, what if we also make a life like this, where your children, when you go to visit family abroad, you don't have to live with them. because of course it's burdensome. So you live in the hotel and you go and see them and live in the hotel. That is something that drove us. And we said, but how did he make it? He had a portfolio that was full of various asset classes. And that's what drove me to build that. So in the asset classes, we have the equities, that is the stock. I talked about passive income and whatever. Talk about the real land and buildings. Talk about the other investments in offshore, maybe shares, and also investments in businesses and different businesses. Then there are opportunities that have come up, like unit trusts and so on, so that whenever you get the money, and savings, but all that and all these investments in the different portfolios have been based on also networking, knowing what is doing well here, and you actually also take interest, without forgetting the Almighty, because I've also got networks in the church area, but the networks I have gone for pilgrimages. I've been to Israel, I've been to all over the place in terms of the different, but building qualitative networks that actually build you and enhance whatever you have. So it's a matter of time. It takes a whole day to talk about that, but it's actually being able to identify the kind of life you want to live and the things you want to make sure that you cater for. Not forgetting your health, because somebody talked about health. Yeah. Health, very, very important, making sure that insurance is part and parcel of your life. But you can only do that having the right, again, networks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Sometimes, when you're talking about something and someone is just feeling jealous, you can be feeling jealous. Yes, she has gone to all those programs and she has been able to afford them. One thing I have gotten, one of the things that I've picked up as a motive is you should be able to afford your accommodation when you visit those children who don't want to visit you. So you actually go visit them and go in the Sheraton, one of the Sheratons, and then you tell them, I am here, but come and visit me tomorrow. I am busy today. I'm relaxing. Diana.
The book, maybe.
Oh, the book. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. The book that inspired me and I think still has meaning was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that book very early, and it actually gave me a foundation of what I've been doing.
Diana, finally.
Thank you.
I hope, Romeo, you are picking something.
I am.
I don't know what excuse you will have when you are not...
Before I pick my NSSF, I needed this.
I mean, you need to be called by then the headmaster of that time here.
I'm
and
sure
you need to
will still be used.
No. With what I've had, I need to go and visit children in the US. Yes, Diana, back to you.
Thank you. So the book I would recommend, I have to recommend my book. I cannot not recommend my book. Yeah. I'm currently reprinting it because of lessons that I've learned. But my book is available. I will try and drop it in the chat if I can, but the easiest way to reach it is to reach me on LinkedIn. That's my most common platform, Diana Sekaja. And then I can get you a copy of the book. Why would I recommend the book? Because it is a planning guide for your life. And the title is Dream It Possible. So it's not just about dreaming. We can all dream. But how do you make sure that the dreams you have actually come to place? So I would recommend my book. One of the things that I write about is the Proverbs 31 woman. So I would also recommend, if I'm to recommend another book, it would be the Bible, and that you just read Proverbs, at least, if you've not read anything else. because the book of Proverbs tells you how to behave, who to talk to, where to get wisdom from. You know, it guides you on everything. So even when we speak about networks, it will tell you who are friends, who are not friends, who are time wasters, you know. So I would advise anyone to read the book of Proverbs, and to specifically read the Proverbs 31 woman. She was a trader, she was a businesswoman, she was a homemaker. So she was balancing her life out and doing various things. And that, I think, can be a guide as you go about your life, as you look at thriving in all aspects and even financially. Definitely go with that guidance. And I would advise, you know, the young people here or anyone listening, have a plan. We've spoken about planning, but plan out your life. I normally have a one-pager somewhere on my phone or in my bag that just has my plan for the year in different aspects, so that as I go about my day, I know who do I need to meet, what do I need to do, you know, what's my priority for this month. It will help you then reach the end goal rather than just being open to anything. Yeah. Thank you.
Essentially, your first network should be God.
Thank you. Definitely. It would have been unfair if if Florence didn't mention God, because I know when they call for ladies in Rome, she's the first to be called, she's the first to receive. So I know all the you can say I'm so around your network. Eh? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I would have apologized for the extra 15 minutes, but it is my class. I will definitely not apologize for them, because these 15 minutes have given us that wealth that we need to go away with. I will share my one as we sign off. My one is, please grow up. Do not just allow to grow old. Thank you so much. NSSF Financial Literacy program returns Friday next month as we speak about money. Thank you.
Thank you.